In the early 19th century, tension between the United States and Great Britain was steadily rising. Although the American Revolution had ended decades earlier, many unresolved issues remained. Britain was still at war with Napoleonic France, and both European powers tried to cut off the other's trade. To hurt France, the British Navy began stopping American ships and seizing cargo bound for Europe. Even worse, they captured American sailors and forced them into the British Navy, a practice called impressment. This angered the American public deeply. The young United States saw it as an insult to national honor and independence. Western settlers were also angry that Britain continued to support Native American resistance against U.S. expansion into the Northwest Territory. By 1812, a group of congressmen known as the War Hawks, led by Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun, began pushing for war. They believed that defeating Britain would protect American sovereignty and might even allow the U.S. to capture Canada. President James Madison reluctantly agreed. On June 18, 1812, the United States declared war on Great Britain. However, the nation was poorly prepared. The regular army was small, and the Navy had only a handful of ships. Early American attempts to invade Canada failed badly. In Detroit, General William Hull surrendered without firing a shot. Yet at sea, American ships surprised the world. The USS Constitution, nicknamed Old Ironsides, defeated the British ship Guerriere, proving the U.S. Navy's strength. As 1812 ended, both sides realized the conflict would be longer and bloodier than expected. The year 1813 brought heavy fighting along the Great Lakes and the Canadian border. Control of these waterways was crucial for both armies. In October 1813, U.S. forces won the Battle of the Thames, where the great Native American leader Tecumseh was killed. His death shattered the Native Confederation that had fought alongside Britain. Meanwhile, the war at sea intensified. The British Navy blockaded the American coastline, strangling trade and causing economic hardship. But American privateers, privately owned ships authorized to fight, captured hundreds of British merchant vessels, boosting morale at home. In 1814, Britain finally defeated Napoleon in Europe and turned its full attention to the American War. Thousands of seasoned British troops were sent to North America. They invaded through Canada and also along the U.S. East Coast. That summer, British forces marched into Washington, D.C., defeating American defenders at Bladensburg. They burned the Capitol, the White House, and other government buildings, a devastating blow to American pride. But the British soon met fierce resistance at Baltimore. When British warships bombarded Fort McHenry, American troops refused to surrender. Watching from a ship in the harbor, Francis Scott Key wrote a poem describing the flag still flying after the battle, words that later became the Star-Spangled Banner. By late 1814, both nations were exhausted. Britain wanted to focus on rebuilding after years of European war, while the United States faced mounting debt and destruction. Negotiations began in Ghent, Belgium, where diplomats sought peace. On December 24, 1814, both sides signed the Treaty of Ghent, which ended the war. The treaty restored all borders to their pre-war status and did not address impressment or maritime rights, the very issues that had started the conflict. Ironically, the treaty was signed before one of the most famous battles even took place. News traveled slowly. In January 1815, unaware that peace had been made, British forces attacked New Orleans. General Andrew Jackson led a diverse army of soldiers, frontier militiamen, free African Americans, and Native allies to a stunning victory. The British suffered over 2,000 casualties, while the Americans lost fewer than 100 men. The victory at New Orleans made Jackson a national hero and gave Americans a powerful sense of pride. When news of the peace treaty arrived soon after, celebrations erupted across the country. Though neither side gained territory, the War of 1812 proved to be a turning point. It strengthened America's sense of unity and independence, showed the world that the United States could stand up to a major European power, and weakened Native American resistance in the Northwest. After the war, the U.S. entered what historians call the era of good feelings, a period of national growth and confidence. The war also inspired symbols of American identity: Old Ironsides, the Star-Spangled Banner, and heroes like Andrew Jackson, who would later become president. In the end, the War of 1812 was often called the Second War of Independence, a struggle that confirmed the United States as a proud, enduring nation on the world stage.